Building an inclusive campus community requires an understanding of others and a recognition that certain behaviors are not acceptable. Attributing equality to a person just because they're a member of a certain ethnic or religious group is a form of discrimination. Anti-Semitism is discrimination against Jews. It is a perception, belief, or behavior toward Jews simply because they are Jewish. To understand anti-Semitism, let's first get clear on a few things. Judaism is ancient, over 3,500 years old. It's the first religion to embrace monotheism, the idea of a single God. The Jewish people is what we call the worldwide population that shares this common system of thought, beliefs, and behaviors, which originated millennia ago in the Fertile Crescent. In ancient times, Jews established a kingdom in what Jews call the Land of Israel, with a holy temple in Jerusalem at its center. After the destruction of that temple and their expulsion from the land in 70 CE, many Jews continued to yearn for a return to this particular place. Jewish people do not all practice the same way. Throughout its history, Judaism has adapted to different times and places and become remarkably diverse. Some Jews are traditionally observant and carefully follow a set of historical laws that guide their daily life. Some Jews are not religiously observant at all, identifying as part of a culture. Jewish people do not all come from one place or look a certain way. There are Jews from all over the world, and Jews reflect the diversity of humankind. Now that we know about Judaism, let's talk about anti-Semitism. What we today call anti-Semitism began with hostility on the part of many early Christians toward Jews. From ancient times, church teachings falsely accused Jews of having murdered Jesus Christ. Over time, this became a broader accusation about Jewish hostility to Christians. Jews were charged with financially exploiting their Christian neighbors, and the blood libel, a claim that Jews murdered Christian children and used their blood to make ritual foods. Such attacks eventually led to bouts of violence against Jews and frequent expulsions from their home cities. Ever since, negative ideas about Jews have been embedded in the Western tradition, influencing thinkers and movements across the political spectrum in Europe, America, and other parts of the world. Anti-Semitism changed form in the 19th century, moving from a religious to a racial hatred, when European thinkers defined Jews as a non-white, allegedly Semitic race from Asia. The term anti-Semitism was coined in 1879 by the German writer Wilhelm Marr. Marr used the term to describe a militant opposition to Jews and the belief that the solution to all of society's problems was to radically reduce Jews' undue and corrosive power and influence. In the late 19th century, as increasing numbers of political and intellectual movements adopted positions like this, the same European powers that colonized Africa, Asia, and Latin America were simultaneously singling out and harassing Jews inside Europe. All of these groups were treated as inferior or dangerous in the new race science of the time. Meanwhile, beginning in the 1830s, as European powers colonized large parts of North Africa and the Levant, they brought with them a series of blood libels and other anti-Jewish accusations that spread the ideas of anti-Semitism to the Middle East. Ideas about Jewish people as a foreign, threatening race culminated in the Holocaust, the effort of Nazi-controlled Germany to exterminate the Jews of Europe. From 1933 to 1945, Nazi Germany murdered approximately 6 million Jews and millions of other individuals in targeted minority groups. The Nazis were the perpetrators, but they were only able to carry out their mass killings with the active support and the quiet apathy of millions of ordinary people in nearly all the countries of Europe. After the Holocaust, anti-Semitism did not go away. It continued to evolve, but the core tenets have remained. These include conspiracy theories about Jews, images of Jews as creatures associated with infection, dirt, and pestilence, echoes of the blood libel, claims that Jews murder people and use their blood for Jewish ritual, accusations of dual loyalty, the idea that Jews are more loyal to one another than the country where they live, the notion that Jews, despite their small numbers, have enormous power, and the association between Jews and wealth, materialism, and greed. When it comes to the remarkable persistence of anti-Semitism, America has been no exception. In the 1930s, millions of Americans tuned in weekly to hear the anti-Semitic fury of the popular Catholic leader, Father Coughlin. For decades, many universities, hotels, and clubs in America excluded Jews or kept them to strict quotas. Today, Jews occupy a complicated position in America's racially charged political landscape. Race is a social construct, and in America, we tend to perceive the country as divided racially between those labeled white and black or brown. But in reality, Jews, like a number of other groups such as Asian Americans, do not entirely fit into either category. Many American Jews have white skin. Therefore, like many European immigrant groups, they have often been seen as white and benefited from anti-black racism. At the same time, like other non-European immigrants, Jews have regularly been treated as racial others, making them victims of discrimination and hatred. White nationalists do not consider Jews white and accuse them of seeking to replace the white majority. They even claim that Jews are conspiring to bring about the extinction of the white race. By contrast, other activists see Jews simply as white. This view ignores Jews' distinctive ethnic traditions and long history of racial discrimination. Furthermore, at least 12 to 15% of American Jews define themselves as Jews of color. Roughly half the Jews in Israel are of Middle Eastern or North African descent. Defining Jews as simply white also associates Jews with privilege in a way that accelerates anti-Semitic stereotypes about Jewish wealth and power. When looking at an act or a word choice, context is crucial to determining when it is anti-Semitic. Here are some useful guidelines. 1. Anti-Semitism usually takes the form of hatred toward Jewish people, property, or institutions. 2. Using sinister stereotypes in speech, art, and actions to charge Jews with conspiring to harm humanity and blaming Jews for why things go wrong is anti-Semitic. 3. Anti-Semitism can also be expressed as positive stereotypes. 4. Some critiques of Israel can cross a line into anti-Semitism. This one requires some background. One of the most important attempts by Jews to address anti-Semitism was the Zionist movement. Founded in the late 19th century, Zionism is a belief in the right of the Jewish people to a sovereign state, a homeland where Jews are safe from violence and expulsion. Zionism is not necessarily a symbol of support for a given Israeli government or its policies. In 1948, Jewish Zionists achieved their goal with the establishment of the State of Israel in Jews' historic biblical homeland. While statehood provided a safe haven for Jews, it also resulted in the displacement of approximately 750,000 Palestinians. To this day, a Palestinian state has not been established, and most Palestinians remain refugees. Israel's founding also provoked new outbursts of hostility toward Jews. For the first time, widespread Arab opposition to Zionism endangered the lives of ordinary Jews in Arab lands. Within a generation, several 100,000 Jews would be forced to leave the Muslim lands where their families had lived for centuries. Most of them went to Israel. Today, Israel remains a state for all Jews and holds spiritual, cultural, and political significance for Jews worldwide. Like those of any other state, Israel's policies are fair game for debate and criticism. For instance, opposing specific policies of the Israeli government is not anti-Semitic. Supporting the right of the Palestinians to a state of their own is not anti-Semitic. Advocating for greater rights for Arabs living in Israel is not anti-Semitic. At the same time, like any other oppressed minority group, Jews see certain rhetoric and images as unacceptable. Here are examples of when criticism of Israel becomes anti-Semitic. Describing Israel or Israelis using symbols and images associated with the classic anti-Semitic stereotypes. For instance, if you criticize American policy toward Israel and use phrases like the Jewish lobby, or the power of the Jews, or Jewish money, that is anti-Semitic. Comparing Israelis to Nazis or Israel's policies to Nazism. Denying the Jewish people the right to a state, while defending the right of autonomy of other ethnic or national groups. Of course, there is ample room for debate about what form a Jewish state should take. Asserting that all Jews are accountable for the actions of the Israeli government. For instance, if you interrogate a Jewish student about their position on Israel simply because they are Jewish, that is anti-Semitic. Disqualifying a Jewish person because of an association with Israel. This asks them to deny or denigrate a part of their identity. Instances of this include asking Jewish students to denounce Israel, Zionism, or policies of Israel as a condition for joining a group or event, or saying, "I don't have a problem with Jews as long as they're not Zionists," or demanding that Jewish students disassociate themselves from a Jewish organization like Hillel that has a strong connection to Israel or Zionism. These examples remind us of the importance of context in defining or understanding when a given act or statement may be anti-Semitic. Throughout history, the overall safety of a society can be measured by its ability to stand up against all forms of hatred and exclusion. Historically, a rise in anti-Semitism has correlated with increased hatreds of all minorities. As we seek to make our campus into a place that is truly inclusive and free of bias and discrimination, we must stand up against all forms of hatred, including anti-Semitism. Like everyone else, Jews want to be treated equally and build a more just and fair society together.